Hey Dan. Do you remember Lords of the Realm 2? It was a turn-based strategy game with real-time battles, developed by Impressions Games and published by Sierra in 1996. Of course, the intro features this rather impressive for the time, fully rendered in 3D intro animation. And while there isn't really a formal story mode, the rough setup to the game is that the kingdom of which you are a part is without a king, and with no heir, there is suddenly a race to get the crown. Now, the setting is medieval, not fantasy, and it's a lot simpler in a lot of ways compared to other turn-based strategy games. There's no technology tree, no research to be done. The units that you have access to are identical to those of your opponents. There are 3 resources to collect: lumber, stone, and iron, alongside gold crowns that you can get from taxing your population or by selling goods, and the food that you need to feed your peasants. So, as with most turn-based strategy games, that's what you're going to be spending most of your time doing, is just balancing your economy and preparing your armies to invade other counties. Now, I had trouble getting this to run on DOSBox initially, but fortunately there's a lot of community support for these older games, so a quick search on the DOSBox wiki provided the solution. And not only does it have that nicely animated intro, but the game is also fully voiced, which is nice because when we got this, it was, I think, a later re-release that was just the CD inside of a jewel case with no physical manual. Of course, there was a PDF of the manual on the CD, but it took us a while to figure that out. The nice thing is that there's actually a fully voiced tutorial that the game automatically runs every time you play it. Although that can get a bit annoying, but you can always turn the voices off.
Welcome to Lords of the Realm 2.
Now, what I wanted to do here was just show you the basics of how the game runs, and the easiest way to do that is just to click on Play Now. You can see here it allows you to type in your own name, whatever you want it to be. I've just put Sir Mort, why not? And then you can choose what color you want to be. That does not affect the game in any way. I always like to be red. Then we just click Continue. And there you can see the first of these little tutorial screens. So every time you click through, a new set of instructions will appear, and I don't know if you'd call him the narrator, the guide, the voice actor, will run you through it.
Right-click on items for information, left-click to perform actions.
So I'll just skip through these.
Cattle provide food each.
And when you click into your town center,
Area for details about it.
there we go. It'll open up this screen. So this is the micro view of your town center. Now you can see it's split into several different areas. We have, in this case, mining iron ore, fields for growing wheat, fields for raising cattle, town center for anyone who doesn't have a job, the lumber industry here, blacksmithing, castle construction, and this region is for any fields that need to be reclaimed. But if we want to go back out, we can just close that up and have a look around. So this is the large map. And you can see the little mini-map here on the side shows our home county here of Periwinkle, which has 435 peasants. Our tax rate is set at 0. Current happiness is at 72. Rations are normal. And we've got this sort of split between growing food and industry. And this is just a quick rundown to say that we have 101 head of cattle, and we expect to gain 10 cattle next season. And we also expect to gain 86 lumber this season. Speaking of seasons, the date is 1268, and it is the winter, although because of the font, it almost looks like minter. And we start with 5,000 crowns. All I wanted to do is give you a little bit of an overview of how the controls and the layout works. So here in the minimap, you can see there is the access to the other counties. On this first level, there's just 4, and 1 opponent, who in this case is the knight. Now we won't get a lot of detail about his lands because we, well, don't have access to them. The other way to move around the map is to click the left mouse button and then drag your mouse to the edge of the screen and it will move around. There you go. And here within our county, whose border is defined by this jagged line here, you can see that there are a few things. Oh, and apparently something has changed because now, yes, I accidentally moved this slider over, and suddenly there was no one working in the fields. You can see you can assign everybody to be working there, or nobody to be working there, but that's a very bad idea because you'll run out of food very quickly. We'll talk more about food another time. But out here, you can see these little squares represent your fields. And these icons indicate your industry, so you can have your lumber on or off.
Forestry on.
And same with mining, on and off.
Mining.
And also the blacksmith.
Blacksmith on.
Yes, it seems that anytime I hover my mouse over there with my left mouse button clicked, it messes around with this little slider. And this is a quick way of making adjustments, but usually you would make fine adjustments by moving a single person around, just clicking and dragging to select them, and saying, no, I want you 3 to move over here, I only want 1 person making iron, and I want 1 person here in the blacksmith shop. We'll talk more about blacksmithing and making weapons and raising armies another time as well. As you can see, all of our fields are currently set to raising cattle, but if we wanted to, we could click on them, and these fallow lands can be changed to either raising more cattle or for growing wheat. And the big difference between cattle and wheat is that cattle change season to season, but wheat needs to be planted in the winter, grown through the spring and summer, and harvested in the autumn. Now, right now we wouldn't be able to sow any seeds because we don't have any wheat, but we can fix that by clicking on this little fella here, and this is the merchant. And he has several different things for sale, including ale, which you can use to make your citizens happy. You can see as you increase the amount you buy, the happiness will increase by a maximum of 5. You can't buy any more happiness than that, no matter how much alcohol you supply. But more importantly, there is grain to buy, so we could buy whatever we needed. You can see this is how many units we would buy, and that's the cost. This tells us of our 5,000 crowns we have so far. We're not going to do that right now. But we could also sell cattle that we have, or we could buy a few more heads.
Goods, my lord.
And the same with everything. You can buy and sell iron, stone, lumber, also individual weapons, in case you don't want to spend the time blacksmithing them, or if you don't have the resources to do that. And that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for today. And I think that's pretty much all you really need to know to get started. Oh, I should say that once you've finished everything that you want to do, after you've made all of your adjustments and you're happy with everything, what you want to do is just click End Turn. Let me just get up. Oh. Get myself right there. There we go. And it will proceed to the next season. And sometimes, if you are looking at your enemy's location, you can see them making movements of their soldiers, or if they've made any changes to their garrison or raised another army. And as you saw, the little merchant moved along the road as the season changed from one to another. So the merchants aren't always in the same place, and you won't always have access to the merchants. Sometimes they will end up in a neighboring county, and you won't actually be able to buy anything when you need it. So it can be very important to keep your eye on where they are, and whether or not you're going to need to buy anything in the next turn or so. And as spring turns into summer, summer turns into autumn. And if we had had any wheat planted, now would be the time that it would be harvested. Let's see if any of the other counties are growing any wheat. No? It looks like everybody's on a dairy diet. Alright. Well, we'll end things there for today, and when we come back next time, I'll go into further detail about how to control all of these things, how to manage your resources, how to raise an army and conquer other lands. But honestly, it's a very forgiving game. You might call it, you know, baby's first turn-based strategy game. So really, a lot of the fun is just poking around in here and trying different things and seeing what works. Alright, Dan. Well, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want me to go over specifically, you just let me know. Alright. I'll talk to you later.
Exit the game, my lord.
I love that line.